not going to hit record.
Right, I know.
Welcome to Not Today Cancer. I'm so excited about today because I always love learning different ways to heal our body after a diagnosis. So today I have an actual expert in the house. It's Catharine Arnston. Catharine is an expert in algae nutrition, a wellness thought leader, an experienced entrepreneur, and sought after speaker. She has an MBA, BA honors, and is a board certified health coach. Catharine's journey into the fascinating world of algae, listen to this, my friends, began in 2008 when her younger sister was diagnosed with breast cancer and advised by her oncologist that an alkaline diet would improve her healing. I love that, first of all, because a lot of diet doctors don't recommend anything.
Well, this was in Canada, first of all,
okay.
and her oncologist was a woman.
Oh, amazing.
So I think that's what we just got lucky, right? I mean,
yeah. Oh, do you want to just share like how then
Sure.
you started? Let's take it. Why don't you take it from there? Because this is
Yeah.
an incredible
So
story.
I am Canadian. All my family's still in Canada, and I have two sisters, one older, one younger. I've lived in Boston, Massachusetts for 33 years, but I'm very close to my sisters, particularly my baby sister, who I shared a room with when I was growing up. So when she had two children, when younger children when she was diagnosed, and it was out of the blue, like it's just she's a healthy, active young adult, and so when she was going to do chemo, and she did chemo, but when she was going to prepare for that, she went to her oncologist who told her exactly that she needed to change her diet to an alkaline diet. Now, they didn't tell her what an alkaline diet was or why it was good for her. So the first call my sister made was to me, her big sister who loves her. And I have an MBA and I was doing international business, nothing to do with nutrition, zero. But I'm a very good researcher and I love my sister. So I was very motivated. I said, I have no idea what this alkaline diet thing is, but I will find out. And I did. And you can just Google it. Mm-hmm. And it was basically a plant-based diet because of the phytonutrients and the chlorophyll that have been proven to protect you from free radical damage and prevent cancer. And we can talk about this. A gentleman by the name of Otto Warburg back in the 40s won a Nobel Prize for discovering that cancer cannot exist in an alkaline cell. And your cells, the range goes from 0 to 14, and your cells need to be 7.1, which is just slightly alkaline. So anyways, this is why my sister's oncologist wanted her to have an alkaline diet, because when you eat acidic food like sugar or processed foods, it changes your blood, which by the way is even more alkaline at 7.6. And so your body automatically knows to pull minerals out of your cells and your organs and your bones to neutralize that acidity. And if that happens too frequently, it depresses your immune system. And she wanted her to have a strong immune system as she was proceeding through chemo. So anyways, I found out what an alkaline diet was. I made lots of food recommendations for her, which she followed, God bless her. And she is cancer-free. It's been 11 years cancer-free. We celebrate every year, girls' trip. And in the process of helping her and learning about plant-based nutrition, this was 15 years ago, remember? Nobody was talking about plant-based nutrition then, and I saw the science. And I thought, man, this is pretty powerful information. Why isn't anybody talking about it? And I'm just a very proactive person. If I see a problem, I try to fix it. So I thought, you know what? I have no idea how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to try to do something. So I gave up my 25-year corporate career at that point. I went back to school. I got a certificate in health coaching from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, known as IIN. Mm-hmm. It gave you an overview, not a lot of depth, but an overview on nutrition. And then I put a curriculum together and I taught plant-based nutrition for free at corporations and hospitals. And this is what truly led me to algae in a big way. Because as I was trying to encourage people to eat more vegetables, because I knew the nutritional value and the alkalinity that came with it, I got a lot of pushback. People said, it's too much work. They're heavy to carry home from the grocery store. They take up too much room in my fridge. I have too long to clean, too long to cook, too long to eat. I get gas. My husband won't eat them. My kids won't eat them. They spoil quickly. Like endless reasons for not eating vegetables. So I thought, okay, if I can't get people to eat vegetables, which because I know it's so healing, I need to find a way to get nutrition, green nutrition into them that was effortless. Once again, I had no idea what it would be or how I would find it, but I went back and looked at everything I'd found for my sister. And eventually I circled to the algae. And that's when the miracle happened, because it turns out algae is the most alkaline food in the world. It's the most nutrient dense food in the world. It's been endorsed by the United Nations since 1974, which is almost 50 years ago, as the answer to world hunger, because it has 3 times the amount of protein as steak. There is nothing in the world with more protein than algae. It's endorsed by the United Nations as the most nutrient dense food in the world. We have a quote from NASA that says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits or vegetables. It's
Wow.
1 to 1,000, and we'll I'll go through that in greater detail in a minute. It's the most studied food in the world. Well, that's 2 points here. 100,000 studies documenting some of the benefits that we're going to talk about today. But that's a big number, 100,000. There's spirulina and chlorella are the 2 algae we'll talk about.
Okay.
And the other big thing to note is that algae is food. It is not a supplement. People think it's supplements. I'm going to show you a picture of algae farms. Here's a spirulina farm, and this is chlorella. Yes, there is algae in the ocean. There's also seaweed in the ocean, but spirulina and chlorella are harvested as food crops in fresh water, not the ocean. So now you're giving your body food, which is very important because your body recognizes over supplement. And I saved the best to last. Science-based, internationally endorsed, used safely for 75 years in Asia. They take it every single day in Japan. But here's the deal. They come in these little tiny tablets. The dark one is spirulina. It's a blue-green algae. The lighter one is chlorella, which is a green algae. Each one of these tablets has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables.
No way.
Entire plate of vegetables. And I came up with that calculation using that quote from NASA. So 1 tablet has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables, 1 calorie, 60% protein, 40 vitamins and minerals. And watch this. I just had a plate of vegetables. Ta-da! Problem solved. Your kids, most people swallow them, but I chew them because I love the taste. Children, pets, husbands, athletes, you can get the alkaline plant nourishing benefits that you could get from vegetables, but algae has nutrients not even found in vegetables that have cancer fighting properties. And we're going to talk about a couple of those, all scientifically documented. And the problem with algae is that nobody in America knows about these benefits. They do in Asia. The science has been around for 75 years, but scientists like to talk to scientists, and no one has gone into the science and made it easy for consumers to understand. And I'm very motivated to do that because I had a sister who had cancer. She's luckily cancer-free now, but every single one of us knows somebody, a very close friend or family member, or even ourselves, either have cancer or will get cancer. And it's unnecessary. If we give our bodies what they need to have a strong immune system, because we all have cancer cells in us at all times, but if we have a strong immune system and strong mitochondria, and we're going to talk about those too.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that.
They will fight the cancer cells and they will not grow. But if you don't have those two working for you, then you're exposed. And we live in a very toxic world. And once you get a cancer diagnosis, it's been building for anywhere from 10 to 20 years. And it unravels your life. Your entire life falls apart. Everything is devoted to doctor's visits, trying to regain your energy. It's ugly. That's all I can say. It's just awful.
Yep. And my listeners absolutely know. I immediately knew when I was diagnosed. So prior to my diagnosis, I thought I was healthy. I've been a health and fitness coach, but I was eating all like animal protein and not enough vegetables and not fruit because God forbid fruit has sugar, like all the crazy wrong things that I was doing. And I knew immediately. I was like, okay, what was I doing previously? I need to do something different. So I immediately went plant-based, whole food plant-based. I don't do the fake meat, but immediately. But one of the things that's so interesting to talk about today is that that's one of obviously the superfoods that I know about is the algae or what's in the roll, the rolls.
Oh, is that, well, that's the
Seaweed,
nori
seaweed,
is
seaweed,
seaweed.
seaweed.
Yeah.
So, like but I'm like, "I hate it. I don't love it. Ugh, it tastes terrible." So I was never incorporating it until I got these bits.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
we'll be talking more about. I can't even believe how much better I feel, and I love them. And for my picky eater kids, are you kidding me? Like, it's crazy. Okay, so first, what is the difference between spirulina and chlorella?
Well, I'll back up a little bit because
Okay.
first I want people to know what algae is. It's its own food category because it's not a plant technically, and it's not an animal. And it was also the first life on Earth for almost 4 billion years ago. So that's pretty special.
Yeah.
So algae is everywhere, and the two main types of algae are macroalgae and microalgae. We're only talking about microalgae, but let me tell you what macroalgae is first. It's that stringy stuff that washes up on shore,
Oh, yeah.
also known as seaweed. And it's called seaweed because it's only in the sea. And it's beneficial because it has high fiber and high iodine, but virtually no nutrition, virtually zero. You can eat a whole bag of kelp noodles and for like 2 calories or something because there's no nutrition in it. But
Oh.
that's macroalgae. It's basically seaweed. We're talking about microalgae, which is called microalgae because it's microscopic in size. You cannot see it with your eye. Something like 1 million microalgae could fit on the head of a pin. That's how tiny it is. And that's why when you consolidate it into these tablets, why it has so much nutrition, because it's just boom. So microalgae, unlike macroalgae, is everywhere. Macroalgae, the seaweed, is only in the sea. Microalgae is in the rivers, the lakes, the streams, the soil, your swimming pool, your aquarium, everywhere. And there are tens of thousands of strains of microalgae, including blue-green, green, red, and the two that are harvested as food crops in freshwater farms. So it's hydroponic, because lots of vegetables are grown hydroponically. Lettuce, tomatoes, means they're grown in water. The two that are harvested in water are spirulina and chlorella. Now, there's other types of blue-green algae, but we're talking about spirulina and chlorella.
Mhm.
Spirulina, again, blue-green algae. Chlorella is a green algae. And they are quite different. And before I get to the difference between the two of them, I want to, again, emphasize how nutrient dense they are. We sell them in large bags of 1,000 tablets. And I use that quote from NASA about 1 gram of algae having the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits and vegetables. And I calculated that a bag of our tablets has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables. It's almost hard to visualize that. It's about 30 or 40 grocery carts of vegetables, right? And at $3 a pound, that would have cost you $1,500. So it's very efficient nutrition. And besides, our algae never goes bad like your vegetables do, although we have to put an expiry date on it. It's usually 3 years, but technically it never goes bad. So, like I said, efficient nutrition, and you can swallow them. We recommend, at least, if you can, do 10 a day because, people are so nutrient deprived. But even if you started with 5, and children, you can take, half a tablet for their age. So if they're 4, give them 2 a day. If they're 10, give them 5 a day.
Okay.
But there is no upper limit. NHL players have 75 spirulina, and we're going to talk, it's a good segue to the difference between the two of them. Spirulina is an energizing algae and chlorella is a recovery algae. So the hockey players have 75 before a game because they need lots of energy and lots of focus on the ice. And as we'll talk about chlorella, it pulls out toxins, including lactic acid. So they take it after a game so their muscles aren't sore. And by the way, it also pulls out alcohol. We know hockey players are big drinkers. So
No
that works.
way.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is amazing. So it's a really good to take the chlorella when you need the energy.
No, the other way around.
Oh,
Spirulina is for
spirulina?
energy. So that's why we call our spirulina Energybits,
Mhm.
because we want you to know that it will give you physical energy, mental energy. And when we get to mitochondria, it also gives them energy. Your mitochondria are the little tiny things in your cells that generate what's called ATP, which is cellular energy. And you need that cellular energy for everything: walking, talking, sleeping, digesting, lymphatic system, healing. I tell people cellular energy is like money. When you have more money, you can do more things and you have more choices. When you have more cellular energy, you can do more things and you have more choices.
Yeah.
And one of the choices that your body will make for you is to stop and kill cancer cells. And this is the algae that you need for that. And we'll talk about that in a minute, because there are 2 nutrients in it that aren't found. Well, this one of them found in chlorella, but not found in any other food in the entire universe. One of them is the blue pigment that makes this a blue-green algae. It's called phycocyanin. And without stealing my thunder, it's proven, this blue pigment is proven to kill cancer cells. Proven. And I can show you some scientific research. And this is what the chemotherapy companies use. They use it in their treatments. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. But nonetheless, spirulina is very energizing. Now, people get confused about energy because they think energy is like caffeine or like a Red Bull or sugar or something. Those are stimulants. This is energy from nutrition. There is no sugar, no caffeine, no carbs either. So it's ketogenic. So anybody who's following a ketogenic diet, great for intermittent fasting, does not interfere with your fast. But the energy you get is nutritionally oriented. And one of the reasons why you get energy from it is because spirulina has the highest protein in the world. All of the protein is in individual aminos. I'm going to show you a chart. Your body, when you eat animal protein, it's all bound up. And it can take up to 3 days for your body to break it down into individual aminos. And very often you don't have all the factors and cofactors, so you end up absorbing about 10% of it. The next kind of protein is peptides, like collagen powder, and they're clusters of aminos. But algae, both of the algae have their protein in individual aminos, so it's immediately absorbed. Nothing for your body to have to work at to get access to it. And because spirulina is loaded with B vitamins, it converts those aminos into energy. So the best way to describe how you feel is just fresh.
Yeah.
Nothing more. You might not even notice it, but if you went for a run or you were lifting weights, you would run further or faster and not notice it. Or you would lift more or lift longer and not notice it. You could take them before bed and your cellular energy will be directed towards sleeping. So it's not a stimulant, it's cellular energy. And I'll probably have to spend the rest of my life helping people understand the difference between that. But
it is
people,
interesting because I wondered too. But really quick, before I forget, you talked about B vitamins. So
yes,
on a plant-based diet, typically everybody should be supplementing with B12 because the vitamins just aren't in foods these days. Does this take care of that?
Well, this has B12 in it. And I know there's some reports to say that it's an analogous B12. I don't know. My lab tests show that it has B12 in it.
Okay.
So, and the Bs are important for energy.
Yes.
Converting the aminos into energy. So we've been selling our algae tablets for 13 years. We have Olympic teams using it, Olympic athletes, professional athletes, and everybody seems to get energy from it. My lab tests show that it's there, so I'm going with that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
But and most people want energy in the morning because that's when you get up and you're tired and you're hungry. So, throw back 10 or 15 or 20, heck, have 30. You could have it as a meal replacement. If you had, we also have a second brand of spirulina because I found that women actually didn't like the blue packaging or the word energy. And because I started the company because of my sister, women's health has been very important for me. And it does build your skin and hair. So I made a second brand of spirulina and called it Beauty Bits, which women love. And I have this on my counter as well. So We jokingly say we have a boy spirulina and a girl spirulina,
But
but
it's basically the same?
absolutely the same. It's just packaging. And, it's no different than car companies. They know women like, one color and men like another.
Absolutely.
And I used to be in the publishing industry, and you may not know this, but the fashion magazines, every issue, they print 2 covers. They put
Oh,
they print one for the newsstand and one for a different one for their subscribers.
wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
thought, well, if the magazines can do it,
yeah,
I just wanted to get this into you people because
yes.
I know what it will do for you.
Amazing. What about somebody who's pregnant?
It's great for pregnant women, nursing. In fact, it helps with fertility. And when we get to the mitochondria, we'll talk a little bit about that because, and there's a great book that just came out a couple of months ago called Brain Energy about how all mental health issues are related to damaged mitochondria in the brain, because your brain has the highest concentration of mitochondria in your entire body, 2 million mitochondria per cell.
Mhm.
And the next highest are women's eggs. And
Wow.
so when there's a issue, when you're having problems conceiving, it could very well be due to damaged mitochondria. So
Wow.
we want, and then the next one after that is your heart.
Okay.
So those mitochondria, honestly, they are the answer to your health and your longevity. And I jokingly tell people, I'm never eating alone because I'm always eating with my mitochondria in mind. So, you're never dining by yourself. You're feeding, whatever you eat is processed by your body. And we'll get to this in a minute. Carbs cause the most free radicals, and that is so damaging to your mitochondria. So you need to really think long-term about and really give yourself some self-care, because you don't want to eat just for taste. If you're just eating for taste, the food industry has got you by the whatever. They know how to manipulate flavors so you will be unsatiated and you'll keep eating that junk food, and it's so damaging to your health. But
It's so bad.
they know how to get you. So but once you wean yourself off that, your palate changes and you start eating for you.
Yes,
And
people ask me all the time, "What dressing do you use?" I'm like, "I don't use
I don't
dressing."
use dressing either. Yeah.
It's like the taste, the flavors, they're so different. And the going back to the packaging, it's so sad. Even at health food stores, people think that are healthy, and you turn that package around and you look at all the awful inflammatory oils in the ingredients that are a mile long. It's crazy.
Yeah. I used to have such terrible stomach distress, and I finally figured out it was canola oil,
Oh,
because I would get grilled vegetables thinking, oh, I'm eating healthy. 99% of grilled vegetables, ladies and gentlemen, are cooked in canola oil. It eliminates any potential benefit from the vegetable by cooking it. It's so inflammatory. Please do not eat grilled vegetables. And and even fish oil, yeah, they've shown that it's all inflammatory by the time you get it, because it oxidizes, and so now it's
oh.
pro-inflammatory instead of being anti-inflammatory.
I didn't know that about fish oil.
Yeah, and by
So
the way,
this is better than fish oil?
guess where the fish get the omega-3 from? Hello,
So
algae.
this could, so somebody that's spending, because like my fish oil is $50 a month. So
Yeah,
for a 30-day supply, or obviously, so this takes care of that.
if you take at least 10 a day, more is
Yeah.
better. If you have a health condition, if you have cancer now,
Mhm.
please double or triple up, which is 20 or 30 tablets, until you get a clean diagnosis. And even then, you really should be taking 10 or 20, for another year or so. But if you take that many, you do not need a multivitamin. You do not need fish oil. You can eliminate CoQ10, biotin. You can clear out about 5 different supplements. And by the way, supplements are made in factories with high heat. And
Yes.
anytime you apply high heat, you are causing damage to the nutritional value. You are
Mhm.
killing enzymes. And we're going to talk about enzymes in a minute, especially one called superoxide dismutase, but and pigments too. So you lose a lot of the nutrients, and so it's very expensive pee.
Yeah.
You
So
don't
I
absorb
know,
them and you can't use them.
yeah, that makes sense. But okay, so with the two, spirulina and chlorella, you recommend taking both, and I want to know why.
Yes.
And then I want to know, if somebody could only choose one that's going through cancer, you are recommending the spirulina. Okay, got it.
Absolutely.
Okay, got it.
So that's a good segue for the difference. So
Yeah.
this one is the energizing, nourishing, and we'll talk about in a minute, a couple of special nutrients not found anywhere else that are proven to kill cancer cells. So this is your AM algae. Also, when we talk about the brain health, because it helps so much with protecting your telomeres, removing amyloid plaques, this is kind of your brain algae.
Mhm.
Chlorella, which we call recovery bits, is a green algae. Spirulina, by the way, is a bacteria, not a plant, has no cellulose wall, which is why it gets into your bloodstream so quickly. Chlorella is a plant. It has a hard cell wall, which means it has fiber, zero fiber in spirulina. You could give this to babies. In fact, they do in Japan if they can't drink mother's milk. So chlorella's claim to fame is the highest chlorophyll in the world. And it's a detoxing wellness algae. And if you don't know anything about chlorophyll, I want to show you this.
Mhm.
This is the chemical composition of your hemoglobin and chemical composition of chlorophyll. Notice that they're virtually identical. The only difference is hemoglobin has iron in the middle, chlorophyll has magnesium. Chlorophyll builds your blood. End of story. It is also the most alkalining food or nutrient in the world. Remember, my sister oncologist wanted her to have an alkaline diet. That is chlorophyll. That's why plants are so vital for your health, partly because of the chlorophyll. Chlorella has 500 times more chlorophyll than arugula. It has 25 times more chlorophyll than liquid chlorophyll. There is nothing in the world with more chlorophyll than chlorella algae, which is why it's called chlorella, because of the chlorophyll, right? That's why
That's crazy. My husband, my husband has brain cancer. I don't know if you know that. So
Oh no.
we're a cancer couple.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, so when he was first diagnosed, he immediately started taking he was drinking the chlorophyll. He stopped a long time ago, but
Yeah.
I'll get him back on that. Okay,
Yeah.
so the chlorophyll is
But
good for
this has
him.
more than liquid chlorophyll for sure.
Okay.
So number
Great.
one, same chemical composition of your blood, virtually, and very healing to your blood.
Okay.
Number two, that hard cell wall has fiber, and the fiber feeds your gut biome. So it feeds the bacteria, and which generate what's called short chain fatty acids, which are very important for your immune system. Remember, we need strong mitochondria, and we need a strong immune system. These are your power. This is a power couple. This will keep your mitochondria healthy. This will keep your gut healthy. They've been using chlorella for IBS and Crohn's disease for 20, 30 years because the chlorophyll is very cleansing. The hard cell wall pulls out toxins, which I haven't addressed yet, but so that hard cell wall pulls out lead, mercury, radiation, aluminum, lime, any kind of glyphosate, any kind of junk in your trunk. This will pull it out. Alcohol, lactic acid. So, and because your body goes through a detox repair cycle when you're sleeping, you can take it any time of day, but definitely take it before bed. Okay. Because it will help facilitate the detox repair. Now, you may not know this, but when you're in deep sleep, your brain actually shrinks and it has its own, they call it a glymphatic system. It's like a lymphatic system. So think of it like street washers. So while you're sleeping, the street washers are in there cleaning out amyloid plaques, aluminum. And if you have chlorella in your body while it's going on, it will be a much better cleanse. It will pull out more stuff. It also stimulates peristalsis, also known as bowel movement. So you can get rid of everything in the morning. And it has the highest tryptophan in the world. Tryptophan is a precursor to melatonin and serotonin. And melatonin is what helps you sleep. And as you get older, your body makes less melatonin. So this will help you sleep. So this is very much a cleansing, repair, detoxing algae and that's why we call it recovery bits. It helps you recover from your day. So it's AM and PM algae. Another way to think of it, remember the two things that are going to keep you healthy and cancer-free or help you recover from cancer is your mitochondria, strong mitochondria, strong immune system. And the other thing to think about it is that this works from your brain down because it helps with healing your brain. And this helps heal your gut. So it's bottoms up, top down.
Got it. Got it. Okay. I love that. So if somebody,
I have another fun analogy. I speak at a lot of conferences, and I was at one recently, and I came up with this analogy that people loved because, sometimes you order room service to eat in your room. Well, and then of course housekeeping comes and cleans up everything. So think of this as room service. This is housekeeping,
Oh, yes. Okay, that's good.
right?
That's
This
great.
gives you all the food and nourishment you need, and this cleans out the junk in your room or junk in your trunk,
Yes. I
right?
love junk in your trunk.
Junk in your
Yes.
trunk.
So, like, again, if somebody for me, I'm 2 years out from my original diagnosis so far. I've had clean mammograms, but so if I did, like, 10 spirulina in the morning and then 10 chlorophyll at night, was that, like, a recommended or, like, 5? Does 5?
Since you've had cancer, I would definitely be taking 10, probably close even more to like 15,
Okay, got it.
because it's just because, as I said, cancer cells are constantly growing. They're basically
Mhm,
cells that are rogue cells.
mhm,
And the reason why they occur is because of damaged cellular communication. When you're healthy, your cells are so smart. Your cells, by the way, will reproduce up to 50 times.
mhm.
And every time they reproduce, the telomeres shrink a little bit. And after the 50th reproduction, there's nothing left protecting your telomeres, which could cause your DNA to be exposed and mutated. So number one, the couple of nutrients in here is superoxidase and the blue pigment protect your telomeres. But
Mm,
even when you get to the 50th cell reproduction, those cells, they just don't die. They're called senescent cells, and they're toxic. But if you had a healthy immune system and healthy mitochondria, as your cells got older, they would know that they've aged and it's time for retirement. So you have what's called programmed cell death, which is called apoptosis, which is healthy. And so the cells are so clever, they subdivide, and they give away pieces of their DNA, pieces of their mitochondria, and they split into like maybe 6 or 7 new cells. But they do it in a organized way. It's like someone retiring and giving away the family jewels, and it's like your turn to go out and go do good things in your body. No inflammation, and they die. They die and they go away, and then the next generation comes up. But when your mitochondria aren't healthy and your immune system is not healthy, those cells don't know that it's time to go. And so what happens is they basically explode. It's called necrosis. And all the toxicity that's inside them, which has caused them to not know that they're not healthy, blows up into the rest of the surrounding cells. And that's why cancer spreads so quickly, because that's the type of cell that has cancer. It doesn't know that it's sick. It's a rogue cell. It's not communicating with its friends. It's kind of doing its own thing. And it's like a bull in a china shop.
mhm.
But you can prevent that from happening by ensuring your mitochondria health and your immune health, to make sure that your cells are healthy, that when it's time to die, they go peacefully, they give away all their good stuff, and they
Yeah.
don't generate inflammation, which is causes free radical damage and rogue cells. And I can explain how that happens at the mitochondria
Yeah,
level.
that's what I was gonna ask. That was my next
Yeah,
question. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a bit of a biology class here. And by the way, I want everyone to know that I call myself a citizen scientist. I've had, other than my health coaching certificate, I am completely self-taught
Mhm.
on cellular biology, metabolic health. So I know what it feels like not to know the science of how your body works. So everything I've done, and I've spent 13 years reading about 3,000 NIH PubMed articles. I do deep dives in the science, so I can explain it to you in a way that's not frightening,
Yeah.
and that you can understand how your body works. Because you know more about your cell phone, how your cell phone works, than your body. And once you know what your body, how it works, it takes some of the fear away, and it's like following a recipe in a cookbook. If you just know what you need to do, I promise you, your body will follow suit and give you your health back. But you need to know what it needs. So I'm going to show you a picture. Here's a typical cell. And inside the cell is your nucleus and a bunch of other stuff. And see those little peanut-shaped things?
Mhm.
That's your mitochondria, okay? And inside your mitochondria is where the ATP, which is cellular energy, is created. But here's the problem. A byproduct of ATP are free radicals.
Mm.
So every time you're generating ATP, which is every single nanosecond of your life, you're also generating free radicals. And here's the problem. Your mitochondria have their own DNA. Yes, you have your 22,000 cellular nuclear DNA. Your mitochondria have their own DNA. And guess what? They're located exactly where the ATP is produced, which is exactly where the free radicals are. So your mitochondria DNA, which by the way, control everything in your body, they are constantly getting fried, damaged, mutated, and killed by free radicals because they're right where all the action is. So, and as soon as your mitochondria DNA get damaged, they're like air controllers. You know, an air controller at an airport controls everything. And if they're off their game, planes would crash. So when your mitochondria DNA get damaged, your health crashes. It's just that simple. They control your cellular communication. They control your regular DNA. They're communicating back and forth all the time. So we have to keep them healthy. So there's two ways to do that. One is to stop the reduce the free radicals that are being produced. And I'll show you how to do that. And the next way is to remove the free radicals. And before we go to that, I want to show you a little bit more geeky stuff about how that ATP is produced. There's something called the electron transport chain, which is a series of molecules where they pass electrons from one to another, and then the final molecule generates that ATP. Think of it as a relay race. You know, when you're doing a relay race, they pass the baton, and the goal is to cross the finish line. So in your mitochondria, the goal is to transfer the electrons, and instead of a finish line, you create ATP. So they have all these little stations in your mitochondria. And if it's a healthy mitochondria, they're very close. So it's very easy for the baton to get passed, and fewer electrons escape, which means fewer free radicals are produced, right? Because it's very efficient. But when your mitochondria are damaged, what happens is the mitochondria start to expand and eventually explode. Remember, I talked about that exploding situation. So now the stations are farther and farther apart from one another. So when they're trying to pass the baton, more and more free radicals are escaping, which cause more and more free radical damage. It's like asking Tom Brady to throw a pass in a stadium that's 3 times the size of a normal stadium. So what happens is, as you get more damaged mitochondria, it just keeps getting more and more damage because they get bigger and bigger. The baton doesn't get passed very well, more electrons escape, and then you get more free radical damage. And this is a real picture of a healthy mitochondria and what a damaged mitochondria looks like. See all that empty space? That's because it's been expanded and the electrons can't transfer properly. So that's what's going on at the cellular level. So there's 2 ways to stop that. The first one is to reduce the number of free radicals being produced. And the best way to do that is to reduce your carbs. Carbs are the worst for exhausting, it's like a little car, exhausting your mitochondria. And you can do that. You can go on a keto diet. You don't have to even do keto, just do low carb. And another great way is through fasting, intermittent fasting, and algae. Both of the algae, spirulina and chlorella, create virtually 0 free radicals, and same with fasting. You'll never get to 0 because just breathing causes free radicals, but that's your number one. You can have protein, fats, complex carbs, but
okay, good. I'm glad you said complex carbs, because I was going to say that complex carbs are totally fine.
Yes.
Okay, good.
It's processed. Sugar is the worst. There's not a single redeeming thing about sugar except it tastes good.
You know what drives me insane? There are so many cancer coaches out there on Instagram saying, that's a lie, sugar doesn't beat cancer. I'm like, oh my
Are
gosh.
you kidding?
No, I'm
Oh, they should
not.
have their license pulled. That's
I
absolutely
know, because
ridiculous.
it's so not true. Like sugar is so added
So
sugar, fake
inflammatory.
sugar, like all the sugars.
I lost my father to leukemia. He would not take my algae because he said, well, is it FDA approved? And I said, well, Dad,
Oh,
you take vitamins? Oh, yeah, I take multivitamin C. I said, you know what? Those aren't FDA approved either. The FDA does not approve anything. They give
see,
you labeling guidelines, but he would not take my algae. And when he was going in for blood transfusions, what would they give him? Apple juice, a blueberry muffin, and some other crappy sugary thing, you know.
and another thing, going back to the FDA, what's really scary is what the FDA approves, which is banned in other countries.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. The FDA is all about supporting
yeah,
the food and drug industry.
right.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen,
It's the
they
truth.
don't care about you, and
No,
you know, they can shoot me for saying that if
no, I
necessary.
agree
But
with that though.
it is the fact.
Yeah.
So so the first thing is remove processed carbs
Mhm.
from your diet. Cost you nothing.
Mm-mm.
The other thing I would encourage you, it's not on my chart here, but get more sleep.
Yes.
Your body needs to repair, and it repairs when you're sleeping. So sleep is the best. That and getting rid of carbs is probably the two best free things that you can do. Fasting is free. I
Yeah.
know it's not easy, but you'll move as you get into it. You feel better when you eat less, honestly, trust me, and you will get off that sugar roller coaster because your cravings, and algae will help you with that because it satisfies your hunger, gives you focus, cuts cravings, 1 calorie nourishment. So anyway, so that's really good. So remove carbs and get better sleep. The second thing you can do is to neutralize
Mhm.
those free radicals. Now, normally you would say, oh, well, antioxidants are the way to do it. And you're right, antioxidants are the way. They do stop free radical damage. But here's the problem. Your mitochondria are the only cell in your body with two membranes.
Mm.
All your other cells, including mitochondria, have a fat membrane on the outside, and your mitochondria have a second membrane. I'll explain where that came from later on. And virtually no antioxidants can get in there. You can eat a room full of blueberries, not a drop of vitamin C or vitamin E will get in there. There are 4 antioxidants that can get in there: chlorophyll, glutathione, superoxide dismutase, and melatonin.
Mm.
And algae has all of them. And in fact, algae has the highest concentration of something called superoxide dismutase, which I know is a mouthful, and glutathione, which is a master antioxidant.
Oh.
And it has the spirulina in particular has this pigment called phycocyanin, which I'm going to talk about separately. So what do these 4 antioxidants do? They get, especially this one called superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD,
Mhm.
they convert the free radicals into water. It's sort of like having the firemen in there. They just hose it down and get rid of them. And here's the good thing. Your body makes superoxide dismutase, melatonin, and glutathione for you from the moment you're born until the age of 30. Once you hit 30, the melatonin, superoxide dismutase, and glutathione drops and drops and drops until when you're about 40 or 50, you have virtually none. This is why older people have a trouble sleeping, because they aren't generating the melatonin anymore. But this is also when and why, especially women, get hit with a chronic diagnosis like cancer after the age of 40, because up until then you were protected from free radical damage by these fabulous 3 antioxidants that your body was making for you. But starting at age 30, you don't have that protection anymore because they are not being generated and they are not found in food. There's no medicinal amount of glutathione or melatonin, or certainly not superoxide dismutase, except in algae. And I want to also let you know, it's not just any algae, because superoxide dismutase, and I'm sorry it's such a long word, is an enzyme. And almost all algae companies use high heat to dry their algae because they're low-priced, high-volume companies. And high heat kills enzymes, all enzymes, including this one. So you may be using another, but we've never used high heat to dry our algae, because I wasn't even planning on starting the company. I just want to help my sister. So we have active superoxide dismutase. So it will benefit your protection for the mitochondria. So
Wow.
it's pretty powerful stuff. There is also superoxide dismutase in the chlorella, but the spirulina is the highest in the world, and you cannot get it anywhere. I think there's 0.00001% in cabbage, but it never even gets to the mitochondria because it gets damaged. And it gets to your mitochondria with the spirulina because spirulina is a bacteria. It gets absorbed instantly, and all the nutrients directly go to where they need to go, including your mitochondria. So it's very, very, very powerful. They've also, in fact, I'll talk about the brain in a second, but I want to mention one more powerful thing about the spirulina is that blue pigment. Okay, it's called phycocyanin. I'm going to show you how to spell it. It's phycocyanin. And you can Google phycocyanin and cancer treatments, and you will find hundreds of articles. Now, you wouldn't know about this because you wouldn't even know that phycocyanin exists. So I'm telling you, here's an example of a paper that I found, and they put cancer cells in a petri dish, okay? And they put phycocyanin, and they dyed the cancer cells so you could see them. And they put phycocyanin, which is the blue pigment in spirulina, into the petri dish. And within 24 hours, the cancer was virtually gone. Wow. And here's a chart that shows how much it dropped. Wow. And one tablet of our spirulina has 4,000 times more phycocyanin in it than they used in this experiment. Ta-da! Wow. Right?
That is insane.
Insane. Yes, insane. So, but now that you know how to spell phycocyanin, phycocyanin, I encourage you to Google phycocyanin and cancer treatments.
I will,
and you will find in PubMed all kinds of. This is what the pharmaceutical company uses.
Wow.
They use phycocyanin to kill cancer cells, and I can get geeky and tell you exactly how it works, but or off another time, and I'll send you my slide presentation so you can see more about it.
Oh, good, yeah.
But once again, phycocyanin is damaged by high heat, and almost everybody else uses high heat. Here's a chart I found that shows how heat damages phycocyanin. You lose 50% of the value once you get to those higher heats, the same temperature that kills the superoxide dismutase. So it's pretty powerful stuff. Wow. And it's only in spirulina. Can't be found anywhere else. Now, you mentioned your husband has brain cancer. So it's not, so the phycocyanin is very, very powerful for that. Yeah. The superoxide dismutase clears out amyloid plaques. It protects your telomeres. And we just recently did was our first clinical trial. We did it with an organization called the Gray Team. They try to prevent suicide rates of veterans, which is up to 35%. 35% of military veterans are committing suicide, which is insane. So we did this test with them, and I'm just looking for my chart. And what we did was it was a small trial, but we gave their participants 30 tablets, which is 30 in a little pouch like that, for a month. And I'm sorry, I can't seem to find my little thing. Anyways, within 30 days, we did EEG, which measures their inflammation on their brain. And within 30 days, the inflammation was completely gone. And there's a great book that just came out called Brain Energy. Christopher Palmer who's a psychiatrist at Harvard Business School, wrote it. And he talks about all brain issues, doesn't matter what it is. Could be cancer, it could be Alzheimer's, it could be post-traumatic stress disorder, is a mitochondria disease. And so, because there's 2 million mitochondria per cell. Remember that little cell that I showed you? There's 2 million mitochondria per cell. So when they're damaged, nothing is working properly. You're thinking your inflammation is bad. And so, the spirulina has so many nutrients that heal the brain and all the mitochondria. And also for the brain, chlorella pulls out toxins, and Alzheimer's, lots of Alzheimer's has been linked to toxins and aluminum, for example. So this will pull them out. So they, but if you had to choose one, this would be it for sure.
Okay, got
everybody in the world should be taking this because our soil is so damaged. Our food is so over processed. We're so surrounded by toxins.
It's insane.
I mean, it's crazy. And no wonder cancer is still escalating, because our bodies can't get what they need to not only survive, let alone thrive. And remember, this is effortless. You don't have to do anything except swallow them. You could
so easy too. They're tiny little baby, easy.
They're like a baby aspirin. So
yeah. So one other thing, I think you mentioned it's good for the heart too, right?
Yes. Well, they're also realizing all heart disease is a mitochondria disease, because the third highest concentration of mitochondria is in your heart. There's 7,000 mitochondria per cell. And both algae, but again, spirulina in particular, reduce blood pressure, high blood pressure. They reduce high cholesterol. They heal the heart, because they heal the mitochondria. And chlorella has an extra benefit because it has your daily requirement of a vitamin called vitamin K2.
Oh, it does. See, all these vitamins that I buy separately, you don't have to buy when you're taking these.
And for people who don't know what vitamin K2 is, it is related to K1, but humans cannot convert K1 to K2. K1 is in anything that's green, and K2 you can get K2 from grass-fed animal protein, a dish called natto that the Japanese eat, or algae. That's pretty much it. It's not available anywhere else in any other food. And what it does is it moves excess calcium out of soft tissue, which includes your brain, your skin, your heart, your organs, into your bones, because you don't want excess calcium in your soft tissue. You want it in your bones. What does it do in your heart and your blood vessels? Well, they're realizing arteriosclerosis, which is hardening of the arteries. Guess what's hardening? Calcium. It's calcium. Kidney stones, guess what they are? Calcium and uric acid, right? And even I can tell when someone eats a lot of sugar because they probably have a lot of wrinkles, because calcium, excess calcium, damages your elastin and your collagen. I think I mentioned off the phone when we were first chatting, but I'm inching towards 70, and
crazy.
I have amazing skin. I don't eat sugar. I don't actually go in the sun that much. And I eat a ton of algae.
That's amazing.
I eat a lot of algae, and I look younger now than I did 10 years ago. So trust me, this stuff works. I want people to know that it truly works. So it's truly amazing. And because it's so effortless and so safe, at least ours is. I mean, we do third-party lab tests. We sell through doctors nationwide. We also sell on our website, energybits.com. But I also want to explain to you why the mitochondria have that second inner membrane that drugs can't get into, most antioxidants can't get into, except these ones I've mentioned, glutathione, melatonin, superoxide dismutase. I'm not sure if I mentioned at the beginning of our talk, but algae, especially spirulina, which is a bacteria, it's called a cyanobacteria. Algae was the first life on Earth 4 billion years ago. And before it showed up, Earth was just gas and water. Nothing lived, and there was no oxygen. Nobody knows why this anaerobic cell started growing. Anaerobic means it grows without oxygen, but it did, and it generated ATP. And then after 1 billion years, there was a lot of oxygen on Earth. So larger cells that were aerobic could start growing. But now the little anaerobic cell wasn't doing so well because there was so much oxygen, and they did better without oxygen. So I tell people, I can imagine the conversation between the two cells going like this. The big cell says to the little cell, "Hey, little guy, I see you're struggling there. How about you come and join us? We'll protect you from the oxygen, and you do better at generating ATP. So, you make ATP for us." And that's basically what happened. So the cyanobacteria, like spirulina, when it was by itself, got absorbed by the big cell and became mitochondria. Cyanobacteria became mitochondria. And that is why there is a second membrane in your mitochondria.
Mhm.
It's left over from the original days when it was by itself. And it helps explain to me why everything that's in algae benefits your mitochondria because they're family, right?
Yeah,
They came from the same place.
that's amazing.
It's
This has
it's
been
all
amazing.
documented in PubMed. It's called endosymbiotic theory. Every single paper that talks about the history of mitochondria reference this.
Mhm.
So I'm not making anything up. So it's pretty amazing to me.
I'm like so impressed by it all. And I love that you educated us without us having to go to PubMed. I feel like you just kind of explained everything because when you look at a PubMed study, you're kind of like, wait, what? So
Yeah,
you did all the hard work for us.
yeah.
So, and I think you were going to do a discount for the listeners.
Yes, we have a 20% discount code.
Oh,
Not
awesome.
today, all one word, no space between it.
Okay,
It
great.
works on everything. We have really fun canisters that have a little hole in it that you can, comes with a bag. You
Oh,
just
that's cool.
shake out the tablets into it. We'll send you one. We also have large bags and when you run out of tablets in your canister, you just buy another bag and you refill the canister.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
and
I
then
need a canister.
we have them in small pouches that are sold in bags. So there's 30 pouches in a bag, so a little
Okay.
pouch. They're great for traveling with. They never go bad. They're safe for your pets, your children. You can't have too much of it. I have like about 100 a day. Honestly, take as many as you can. If you have a cancer now,
Okay.
please take at least 30 a day.
Okay.
And even after a year after your diagnosis, we didn't talk too much more about alkalinity, but it is the most alkaline food in the world. It will help protect, make sure your pH is slightly alkaline, both in your blood and your cells,
Mhm.
to stop that free radical, those free radicals from being damaged. And remember, the blue phycocyanin has been proven to kill cancer cells, and the superoxide dismutase will also help with protecting your mitochondria. So this is again the nourishing, energizing algae for spirulina for your mitochondria and for your brain. And chlorella is the gut health detox algae. So they work very, very closely together, but do quite different things,
I'm
which is
in for
your
both.
AM, your PM,
Yep.
brain, gut.
Got it. You are amazing, Catherine. I'm so happy you are here, taking time out of your day to share all this, just how incredible this is. So I
Well, it
appreciate
is
it.
amazing. And I just want to assure people algae isn't new. It's just new to you. And just
Right.
like you didn't know about collagen or chia or kiwa or matcha a few years ago, even though they've been in other countries for thousands of years. Same with algae.
Mhm.
It's a multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop in Asia. It's as big as the beef industry is. They've been using it every day in Japan for 75 years. And yes, it's been sold here, but people put it in their smoothie, but they don't really know what it does.
Yeah.
And a lot of
I
that
didn't.
algae is missing these key two nutrients because
Mhm.
they've been dried with high heat. So you're not getting the benefits that you need. So
Yeah.
I know the bag is $130, but with your discount, it brings it down to 100. But that's 551 pounds of vegetables that you didn't have to carry home.
Wow.
And your health, when you don't have your health, you have nothing,
I
right?
know. It's crazy. And
Right?
how many are in a bag?
There's 1,000 tablets in a bag. So if
Wow.
you're
Okay.
healthy, 10 a day would be sufficient, and that would last you 3 months. If you have a
Wow.
condition, you probably need 30 a day, and that will last you a month, but it will
Yeah.
replace a lot of your other supplements. Honestly, you'll buy fewer groceries. We've had so many people tell us they now eat once a day, and their grocery bills have gone down so much. And if you are taking chemotherapy, this will pull out the excess chemotherapy so you're
Oh.
not as nauseous. So please take this after your chemotherapy treatment.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And after radiation, because the
And after,
chlorophyll
yeah,
will
after
help.
radiation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course you get so fatigued when you have those treatments. This will get your energy back up while
Okay.
it's doing all that additional protection. So they really are. I tell people, hey, you're never eating alone because you're eating for your mitochondria, but
Yeah.
these your mitochondria, everybody's on your team, but you can't ask someone to drive you to the play or a theater or anything and put a blindfold on them. They
Right.
can't work properly. Your body needs some help.
Yes. Agreed. And
And
especially when you've gone through a diagnosis, we need to
yeah,
help them out.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank
So
you, thank you, thank you. Of
thank
course, I will
you.
have everything in the show notes below, so check that out. And Thank you so much for being here. And
Well,
we
thank
will,
you for helping others because we
yes,
need to put a stop to this silly,
yes, we do.
terrible
Yes, we
cancers.
do. Yes.
So
All right.
good for
Thanks.
you. All right.
Thanks, Catherine.
All right. Take
All
care.
right. You too. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.